Hello viewers and welcome to Doordarshan Kendra Shillong. Today once again we invite you to join us in a very special program because we talk in the context of the day that is International Day of the Girl Child. Now International Day of the Girl Child is celebrated every year on the 11th of October to raise awareness, to raise consciousness and once again bring the importance of the girl child into public limelight. Yes, the girl occupies a very important place in our society, but there are also several challenges that a girl has to go through time and again, and we have witnessed so very often the challenges that a girl faces almost every single day. Though she is the harbinger of the society, I must say, but then, as I said, that cases of violence against her, especially these days that we hear so often in the national media, almost every single day, dampens the spirit for each one of us to understand and to see that such heinous crimes are so often perpetrated against this girl child. And therefore, to raise this level of consciousness and to make the people understand the role and responsibility that is there among each one of us to uphold the girl child and to protect and to raise her, we have this celebration that is observed every year. Of course, it was long back, 25 years ago, in the Beijing Declaration, heads of countries had come together and they had promised that they would take care of the girl child, especially in the field of education, her safety and her security, and to protect her. Well, as I said, that often that goes for a toss. So today we will be talking about this day, why we need to celebrate the girl especially, and what are the challenges that are still there in the society that needs to be taken care of. Before I go ahead and introduce my guest to you, let me remind all our viewers out there that this program today is being sponsored by the Social Welfare Department, Government of Meghalaya and the State Resource Centre of Women. And now let's watch a short clip.
On this International Day of the Girl Child, I want everyone to create a better and safer world for the girl child. We deserve it. Help us feel loved and secure. Thank you, and please stay safe. Together we can. Save the girl child. Beti Bahao.
Alright, so dear viewers, welcome back. And now I'm all ready to introduce my panelists to you for this program. I'm being joined to my left by Meena Kharkungor. She is the former chairperson of the State Commission for Protection of Child Rights, or SCPCR. We also have with us Mati L. Varjari. She is the District Child Protection Officer, Social Welfare Department, Government of Meghalaya. And before I start with the discussion with them, we have from Doordarshan Shillong arranged a small clip for you. Let's go ahead and watch this short clip, which is once again based on the topic that we have taken up today.
The COVID-19 pandemic has come as an unpleasant surprise, and the consequential worldwide lockdown has severely affected human freedom, putting in jeopardy the future of men and women alike. The educational system is forced to rethink its strategy from classroom learning to the online learning, which comes with its own demerits. Should we not think of adding a skill-based learning to the conventional cognitive education, especially for our girls, which can boost their confidence in the midst of the current grim situation? An acquired skill may not only work magic as a confidence booster, but can also make a girl a future employer. one who can contribute into the local economy. There are numerous skills that a girl can acquire with the help of her parents, guardians, local government authorities under various schemes and through various organizations. These skills can range from the traditional ones such as stitching, embroidery, making jewelry from non-expensive material to more contemporary ones. If they can focus on acquiring such skills from an early age, it can open a plethora of opportunities in life for them. Upon completing their schooling, they can focus on enhancing their skills and making them their part-time or full-time profession. With educational institutions shut down due to the ongoing pandemic, students are forced to spend most of their time at home. This can be turned into an opportunity, especially for girls, to bring out their talents and skills in a more productive manner. This can prove an old saying to be true: a skillful person shall never remain unemployed. The State Resource Center for Women, Meghalaya, would like to encourage the parents to explore various fields suitable to their geographical and cultural context and help their girls to acquire various skills, which is also emphasized in the new education policy. This will not only prepare them to face life with greater confidence, but also become Atmanirbhar. Issued in public interest by State Resource Center for Women, Social Welfare Department, Government of Meghalaya.
Welcome back, dear viewers, and now we are all ready to go ahead and speak to our panelists. So, very warm welcome to both of you for coming to Doordarshan Shillong, Kong Meena as well as Kong Mati. Thank you so much for taking your time out, and indeed it is a very important topic that we have taken up, especially to highlight the importance of the girl child, but also at the same time talk of the challenges that a girl so often faces in society and what more as citizens, as common individuals needs to be done as various stakeholders also to uphold her and to improve the condition of the girl child. I would like to begin with you, Kong Mati. You are the district Child Protection Officer. Please tell us, the significance of this day, because every year 11th of October is celebrated as the International Day of the Girl Child. Indeed, it is a momentous day because there are so many things about the girl that also needs to be celebrated, right? Please tell us about the significance of the day.
Well, the 11th of October gives us also a platform where we address issues regards to a girl child or adolescent girl, where we can, revamp or rethink about the approaches in terms of education, in terms of protection, in terms of access, legal access or medical access. So it helps us. At the same time, it reminds us, and also it helps us to, pave a way for these and remember and celebrate the girl child, so that the protection and the rights of a girl child is protected.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so after those opening comments, I come to you, Kong Meena. I mean, yes, she has just mentioned that the girl can be celebrated and ought to be celebrated, yet there are so many challenges, as I said right in the beginning, that a girl child faces. We are a matrilineal society, yet we have seen such rampant violence also going on in the state. Some of them come to the fore, some of them don't. According to you, therefore, what are some of the challenges that faces a girl child especially?
Like Mati has just pointed out now, like we ought to celebrate and protect the girl child. It is there, like right from before, like a girl is to be celebrated. A girl has to be given that equal opportunity that a boy gets in the family.
Right.
But often it happens that even in our society, we do not, I mean, of course we try to give them that protection, but then what happens is, like time and again we see, and I as the former chairperson also have come across cases where a girl is abused, not only sexually, you can say, they are abused emotionally, physically. So these are the issues that faces a girl child, in spite of we having to celebrate all these events, but in actual fact, when you see, I don't see that a girl is really being protected.
Right, right. Kong Mati, you will also agree with me that there are several concerns that a girl child, even in this matrilineal state of Meghalaya, faces. I'll highlight two issues here, which is quite visible. One is the dropout rate, especially amongst the girls, and secondly is teenage pregnancy. How important are these two issues, and therefore these needs to be addressed? And you, as being on the ground, you're working in the ground, in the field, what is your view on these two aspects especially?
These aspects needs to be strengthened from my point of view, because even though like Kong Meena has also highlighted, being a matrilineal society, and at the same time when we talk about teenage pregnancy and dropouts, it correlates.
Right.
Because see, when a teenager is in the say class 8, 9, then she's already pregnant. Then often her schools, she drops out from school to take care. Then additional burden comes with body is not yet so to say prepared to give birth to a child. And then another issue is that having siblings, suppose if a girl child is the eldest child, especially in rural areas, if she's a girl child and being the eldest, often her education is not well concentrated. Why? Because of the other siblings that she has to take care of. We have seen in the ground level where the elder sister has to look after, therefore she has to go for work or be at home looking after her siblings, but then opportunities is not given to her for education.
Right.
And then that's why then if you sit at home, you tend to get involved, and then teenage pregnancy happens.
Right.
So it correlates often it correlates when we see that. And another thing is that when we talk about teenage pregnancy also, it happens, we see that it's not a hush-hush subject, it is a very rampant subject. So what happens is that not only her health issues is there, another issues will be psychological issues, emotional issues, because see, often we see young mothers are burdened with household chores, and then taking care of the child, not mentally prepared, and then fend for herself. And if you are a teenage pregnant girl, and bearing a child, for young mothers, supposedly if the father is not in the picture, so all the burden comes to the mother, and then
a young mother,
it creates a vicious cycles. It creates a vicious cycles. So therefore these are the issues that we see at the
in the ground too.
In the ground
too. Yes, Kong Meena, I think you also have been in the ground and you have seen such cases, right? I mean, what she's brought it out is very true. That a woman, a young girl is not, I mean, I'll not even call her a woman, a young girl is not only burdened with pregnancy and looking after the household as well as the children, so many children, but then if the father for any reason disappears from the scene of action, she's left, you know, to fend for these kids too.
Yeah,
what is your take on this? Yeah.
Very true, Mashmi. Because, you know, we used to travel around also, no? And especially you'll find all these cases in the rural areas.
Right, right.
You know, where maybe because the parents do not have that level of education, you know, that they can give to their children's, and then coupled with that, the poverty is there. So, you know, so what happens is the girl is always left out. She, like Matti said, like she is to look after the siblings at home or do the other household chores and all. So that way, you know, she drops out of school.
Right.
She cannot go to, I mean, to school. Then these are the issues which comes up in the society where maybe, you know, she meets with someone, and if it's a young boy especially, it is very difficult for that girl, because even the both the partners are not matured, you know. So the boy will ultimately run off. So the burden will always come to the girl. So she will be the one who has to bear everything, you know. So that way she loses out her schooling, her, I mean, the teenage years that the girl has.
Yes.
Then, you know, then the economic deprivation that is there.
Right.
And then, you know, that's why we see, I won't say every time, but there are occasions where, you know, girls are being trafficked also.
Right.
And people say, you know, that girl has gone on her own. But what are the circumstances that had led that girl to go or to take that path? So, you know, as a society, we have to see that, you know, the girls are being educated, and we have so many schemes of the government, but they are not being implemented in the right spirit.
Yeah, in the right
that
earnest.
is what, you know.
That is true. I was just coming to this, the government of India, a very ambitious program called Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. Then there is another scheme called Midday Meal Scheme, etc. Many others also are there, which is supposed to provide a lot of social security and, you know, to uplift the girl child. Tell us the ground reality with the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, you know.
Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao was first initiated in Ribhoi district in Meghalaya. So in East Khas Hills, we have just recently initiated it.
Right.
So at the ground level, and there's another, you know, another authority that is implementing Beti Bachao. So I think it is moving, and we're being positive about it, and we'll see about the outcome. Since in East Khas Hills specifically, it's just started, and you know.
Yeah. Since we are still in that Government of India schemes, another you know aspect that needs to be highlighted. Now the pandemic is still on, right? And nutritional aspect, you know, is a very important part to nourish the body, which also nourishes the mind, right? So how are these schemes such as the midday meal scheme, how are you being able to implement or not implement? What is it that the government is doing specially?
Actually, for the nutrition, if you see in recent past, in just last month, the month of September is celebrated as the month of nutrition. So ICDS have been implementing that, and we have seen that at the block level it has been implemented, and it was concentrated also with regards to nutrition of the children, not only a girl child but all children attending through the Anganwadi centers. So I think right now, like, we have a convergence, and you know, I think that is a scope for developmental process and progress. So these are the things that's happening under the grassroots level.
Yeah, because nutrition is one thing. It is not enough just to hold it just for a month, you know. It is a continuous process for years and years together, right? And a woman needs to nourish her body even before she actually conceives a child, right? And then when she conceives, there is additional nourishment that she requires, etc. Let us now come to a very important, which is actually disturbing all of us, and that is the increasing cases of rape, molestation, kidnapping, and you call it abuse, you call whatever, that has increased tremendously in the society. I mean, it just sends shivers down our spines to see what is happening in some of the states of our country, right? In the case of UP, for instance, I mean, look at the cases that is coming up front. Kong Meena, you have dealt with the rights of the children. How concerned are you with these rising cases of rapes, especially that is perpetrated day in, day out, especially to these girls?
You see, Mashmi, like, you know, when even during my tenure as a chairperson, we used to collect all the data and statistics from the police and from the courts and all. And when I left it also, we had around 1,000 over cases pending in the courts for for the trial. So like on and off, it used to bother me, and especially now that I'm not there anymore. I mean, I just reflect on it. What is happening to these cases?
Right.
Because we have the act, we have the law which says these POCSO cases, especially POCSO cases, are to be tried in a very in a speedy manner, speedy manner, and they have to be over by in a year's time, which never happens, because there are different, I mean, there are there are factors to it. Okay. But in spite of that, see, in this pandemic now, we have so many children who have been victimized under the POCSO Act and all. So I tend to think, what is happening to these cases? The courts are not sitting, so the evidence is not being, I mean it's not going forward,
and they can be destroyed also. The longer
and
it
then
takes.
the accused, they get the excuse now for the grant of bail.
Right.
So I was thinking, like why the courts cannot take up these cases on a priority basis, maybe via video conferencing.
Okay.
At least call up the victims, take the victim statement, because there are many victims, I'll tell you, who are still in the care of the children's homes, in a government run home, say, or in the NGO run home. There are children who are POCSO, related cases and all. So that's why it's, I mean, it really concerns me that at least the courts should take up such notice, and maybe call them or have a video conferencing through the homes or anything, because see, the government is spending so much of money on all of this, I mean, the COVID situations, but I never hear a word where they say that there is a specific amount kept for children's.
Right.
I didn't hear anything like that. So it really concerns me, what is happening to these children's? What about the midday meal? Midday meal is usually given in schools. So now there are no schools. So whether these meals are being provided to these children, whether there's any data, statistics that the government and the department are taking to see that all these children who fall under these categories are getting what they are supposed to get.
That means a lot of work needs to be done.
Lot,
and it is what you said is that what worries me is that because there is such tardy implementation of our laws are in place, definitely. Even if the existing laws were implemented in the right earnest, the delay only, the perpetrators are only getting away with it, and it gives them more license to continue with such kind of violence, right? Because these laws act as a deterrent, so that punishment has to be rigorous and swift and quick, so that it acts as a deterrence. Your word on it quickly, if you would like to add on this.
Yeah, we see that at the end of the day, the most people who would suffer is the children, especially POCSO related cases. Of course, we are rehabilitators. We try to reach out to children, even those who are not there. For example, in these pandemic days, we cannot ask children to come to us, so we do it telephonically.
Okay.
We do it telephonically, and we there are some certain amounts of our beneficiary under us where we provide rations to them. Concentrating on not only on the psychological but the nutritional values also. But the thing is that we often see that sometimes, especially if children have to go to the court every now and then, sometimes they turned hostile not only towards the court but to everybody. Trust issues develops. We have seen certain cases where they don't trust us anymore also, because they also know, especially older children, I'll tell you, they know the time frame, they know what the act is, they know what the act says, and and when they come to us, they come with hopes and aspirations, okay, and along the way, because of certain factors, they turn to the delay, and they turned, and which at times also as caretakers, as rehabilitators, we also get frustrated, because we cannot, the access of the spirit of the act, sometimes we feel like it gets broken down, because we tend to be helpless at times, because our priority is we have to keep ourselves you know, we have to wear the shoes that those children are wearing.
Exactly.
So sometimes those are the, you know, challenges that we face at the ground
Absolutely. I
levels.
totally can feel and sense what you're trying
And
to say.
sometimes parents get tired to come,
Yes.
guardians get tired to
Absolutely.
come. You know, when things like that happen, like you said, it gives license to the perpetrators to, you know.
Because in spite of so many laws, why hasn't it acted as a deterrent till today?
That's right.
Cases have just, and you know, the viciousness of it has only been increasing. Look at what happened in UP recently.
That's right.
I mean, I can't even think that any girl can go through, and thereafter, what the family must be going through. So, Kongmina, therefore, at what level, therefore, we need convergence? We need convergence. We need different stakeholders to come and work together, because this is a common concern of the society.
That's what. You know, Maushami, see, like you said, there are so many laws. Even the POCSO Act was amended recently in 2019, giving more punishment scopes for the accused persons and all. But like we all agree and we say, you know, if there is no delivery of justice, if justice is not being given to the victims, I mean, we will never be able to deter any persons, because that way, you know, a person in the society will feel he can get away with it.
Right.
You know, so we need that convergence, and I always used to believe in that. You know, like we should set aside our egos, work together. You know, the police, the social welfare department, the child welfare committees. You know, and also the courts. We should all converse together and see that we can at least, you know, if not give them 100% justice, at least 90% should be given to these children, because like Matti was saying, these child, you know, they grow, you know, as of time they grow, and then what happens when they face a sexual assault at the age of 5, and then, you know, she becomes a girl of 16, they live with it, and then when they go to the courts, they go to the police, they go to the courts, they have to relive it again and again and again, and you know, of course, we have the counselors, we give them counseling, but how much does it affect these children? So, you know, we have to be more sensitive to such cases, and priority should be given, Maushami. I always say priority should be given, convergence should be there, and we should set aside our egos.
Absolutely, because children are the future. They are the child bearers of tomorrow. I mean, a society progresses because there is a woman, there is a girl who grows up to a woman who will give birth to the future of the society. How can you ignore and not take of that child? As we are almost wrapping up this program, Kongmati, I come to you. Therefore, what more therefore needs to be done when we are taking up this concern of protection of the child?
See, it just came into my head. I would like to quote Kong Yamon Seim, Yamon Lang Seim, who is the new chairperson now. Just recently we had a program with her also. She said something very, very daunting, I mean, to me. Not daunting in a sense, like it's a very impressive, or rather, what do you say? Something that keeps a mark with you, no?
Okay, has touched you.
Yeah, has touched me. So I would like to quote her that, you know, as a society, we are all fences. Be it right from the grassroots level or to the top level, we are fences. You know, around our house we make a fence. Why? To protect ourselves. So we are a collective responsibility of fences, you know, to address certain issues, especially when it comes to children's issues, child rights issues. So when one fence is broken, that means we allow the wild animals to come inside. So I think it is time that we strengthened. If we have to make a high wall of fences, we have to. But system is there, everything is in place. But you know, we have to be
at the implementation level.
We
and
have
actively
to
implement it,
and be the real fences of the future of our children, so that, you know, it won't just be a silver lining. It will be a gold. You know, it will be a golden gate. At the end of the day, it will be a golden gate.
Very well said, very well said. Kongmina, quickly as we wrap up, your last thoughts to all the viewers who are watching this program.
First of all, I would like to wish each and every girl child a happy Girl International Day. And as I wrap up here, I would like to implore upon all the stakeholders in our society to please look up not only to a girl child, any child, and each and every child is an important person in our society who will lead our future. So we have to love them, nourish them. Nature, we have to nurture them, and we also have to protect and love them. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very well said indeed. And dear viewers, so those of you who are watching this program, International Girl Child Day should not be restricted just to one day. It should be an everyday affair that we need to celebrate, honor and protect and preserve the future of our society. We need to take upon the onus of responsibility that yes, she belongs to each one of, even if you may not have a girl child at home, but your neighbor, your cousin, somebody or the other has, and yes, we have to be collectively responsible towards protecting and upholding the girl child. I hope you've enjoyed watching this program and you have taken a few cue points from this program to really, as Kong Meena said, nurture, nourish and of course uphold the girl child. Thank you very much for joining in this program. Once again from us here, wishing every child a bright future, and may she be loved, protected, honored and upheld. And on that note, we wrap up this program today. Thank you very much, both of you, Kong Meena and Kong Mati, for coming to the studios and speaking so vocally about this issue and what are the problems and challenges that lay ahead and what more needs to be done. Thank you so much for joining in this program today. Well then, viewers, that's a wrap. But before that, let me once again remind you that this program today was sponsored by the Social Welfare Department, Government of Meghalaya, State Resource Centre for Women. Until next time, from all of us here, it's goodbye.